Alright. Hi there. Hi. I decided tonight I wanted to make something different because I have pushed through certain boundaries that I have been working on for quite a while. Emotional boundaries, but also personal obstacles, such as my porn addiction, has come to a close, and I managed to replace it with enough other habits that you may call healthy. But yeah, if you have a habit, you may say even to a certain degree masturbation can have health benefits, but after a while you may realize that's complete bullshit. So some people, they play sport and you may say going running is healthy, but when I see people that go running, I think this is far from being healthy. So what I realized is that spending a lot of time alone in my room, in silence, helped me to connect with my center, with my intuition, with my feeling. And at the moment, I take no psychedelics, nothing. I would say they are still a part of my life. At the moment, yeah, in the form of coffee. I use that to push through motivational barriers. But that's okay for me. I work with transitions. I use what I have available. So right now I have a microphone that's propped up on a tripod that's really old, because we happen to have this. And I use a scarf to cover the microphone so that my voice is a little bit dampened and the air of my voice doesn't make these weird S sounds and stuff, so that my voice sounds a bit more smoky and all that kind of stuff. But my voice really sounds like that mostly. Anyway, yeah. I'm still working through emotions, so sometimes I get annoyed when I say too much, or sometimes I get annoyed when I have to explain things that just, they seem so obvious. So I feel like, why do I have to explain them? What I would like to do with this video is to just show you something that I sometimes do, but that most of the time I basically forgot. But now I feel like I'm finally in the space where I can, I wake up at night, it's now maybe 2 a.m, and I actually feel motivated to do this. And the reason I got to this point is because, I'm an energy worker. What does that mean? Some people say they're energy workers, some people say they're healers. But that means you also have to know how to heal yourself. I've learned how to heal myself by healing myself. And there was a part of my life that you could say is not that far ago, that long ago, although it feels like an eternity. In terms of days or month, it's not that far away, where I could only get to this space where I can sit here comfortably and massage myself and do breath work to a certain degree and feel clear enough that I can actually sit there and meditate when I smoked cannabis once in a while. But what I also realized is, if I hadn't smoked cannabis in a month and then I would smoke once, I would get to this place. But if I would smoke cannabis every day, it wouldn't work anymore. So what I learned is that you can use psychedelics to push through boundaries and make new experiences. Because in the way that psychedelics have helped me personally, and I cannot recommend to anyone to take psychedelics because, that's also the gateway to hell as much as it is to heaven. So if you're really unbalanced, I don't know, maybe do more physical exercise first. I always maintained some kind of physical routine. When I started to take psychedelics, I already knew how to slackline, for instance. I already knew how to do push-ups and these things. I had a certain physical strength already. I already did a lot of hiking, a lot of cycling, so I was physically fit. And then I only started to smoke cannabis at the age of 26 or 7. So a lot of people who start at a young age, I would recommend to them, stop with this. First, do your own work. But yeah, you can't really help that. It's like super hyped these days, psychedelics in general, but they are far from being the solution. Whatever Terence McKenna says, they aren't the only thing there is. And I realized I wanted to get away from being dependent on all these things. And so I worked on all my dependencies, things like food, women, other people, pornography, masturbation, talking to other people, all that kind of stuff, right? I worked on all of these things and I looked at them and I all laid them out in the open for you to look through them. This is what my content is about. I just shared everything that I found on my way to liberation, and you could call that enlightenment, because you want to be more lightful, right? You want to be less heavy. And although you will be able to stand more firmly in life, you will feel more lightful. But you also still have a certain heaviness to you, because your mind will become incredibly strong, which you have to be. I mean, you want to be like a tree, right? To stand in very strong winds and hold your ground, because that's what life is. Life throws all kinds of stuff at you. Sickness, disease, fear, anger, whatever. This is emotions we're talking about. And so what you want to learn is to channel your energy through your body in a way that you don't get thrown over every time something happens in your life. Somebody dies and you mope. Why? Death is a natural thing in life, and there's no reason why this should push you in the ground. You should rejoice that you have met this person and that you could spend time together. And now this person has died. Appreciate that you've met them, because now when you feel lonely or sad, you can still always connect to them on a heart-to-heart basis, because in your heart they will keep existing. So you can still remember that kind of love. And so what I do, and what I usually mostly did only on psychedelics. So now this is also a very special evening for me, because I trained enough now. I put in a lot of work in me as a emotional being, but also as a physical being. I did a lot of physical workout. I did my stretching, to a certain degree. There's still some areas I'm working on, like my shoulders are really tight. For example, I can bring my left hand, my left arm, to the back, to my shoulders, and then I can, from underneath, and then I can come with my right arm and I can grab my hand from the top behind my back. But the other way around, I don't manage, because my right arm is so tight, my shoulders, because I'm right-handed. That means I have more strength in my right arm, and this strength is actually destructive. And that's what I realized, that I was doing a lot of calisthenics and doing a lot of work, and I tried to be strong, but emotionally I was actually really weak. There were a lot of things that were scaring me, and there was a lot of heavy emotional stuff that was pulling me down. And so the reason why when I smoked cannabis, I just relaxed, right? It softens you a little. So if you do it once in a while, it can help you to relax and go through your emotions in a bit more relaxed way. And you can even meditate with it. But in the long run, it's going to make you so soft that you won't be able to get out of your depression anymore. It's going to make you weak, because it opens you up. And when it opens you up, you also have to be able to, to channel the energy up your spine. Because what you want to learn is to be open as your natural state, right? You want to be how you are. I don't know if you've ever taken psychedelics, but if you have, you know how it feels to be high, right? I mean, you know how you feel after a roller coaster ride or a base jump. Now you can imagine you just feel more peaceful about it and not as riled up. And you don't have to cling to it anymore because it's your natural state. And I begin to feel like this more and more as I work on all these tensions in myself. But what I did first was I worked on all my emotional stuff, because I realized I was so heavy, I couldn't get there on my own. I had to use psychedelics once in a while, that's my case, to get away from all this heaviness I was feeling and to look at it from another perspective. But whatever I experienced on psychedelics, I took that with me. I experienced it, and that means I had a feeling connected to the experience. Wow, this is how relaxed you can feel? And as I realized that if you continue to cling to smoking, you don't feel like this anymore in the end. You want to feel like this, but smoking doesn't give you that anymore. Plus, smoking is very unhealthy. It actually blocks the flow of chakra in the long run. So the cost of the method is weighing you down. And so what I learned is that there are a lot of things that people do when they think it's healthy, such as going running, or, I don't know, playing soccer, or whatever they eat, right? We always want to do healthy things. But what I learned is actually it's often better to just do it on your own and to do less of it. Whatever you do, just do less of it, right? Just try to do less of it a little and, add some things that just quiet you down more. So I just realized for myself, I didn't want to go running anymore. I didn't want to do all this hectic stuff. I just saw people being, running around all the time from A to B and doing all that stuff. And I just, I'm just inside my room because this is my job, right? So I can do this, since, I don't know when I started. I think it feels like 3 weeks. It actually feels like an eternity. It feels like I've been in this room forever. And I actually can't imagine ever getting out of this again. But this is also, I wanted to be here because I wanted to seclude myself from this stressful world out there. And I wanted to connect with who I am when I'm alone. I wanted to figure that out. And, it's very important to me to know who I am when I'm alone. And that's also why I don't really touch people. Actually, I don't touch people at all. Because when I touch people, our energies mix, and right now I don't need that. I want to feel how I feel when I'm truly and honestly myself, without the energetic extra weight I get from touching people. I really mean that. And so the place you see me right now, sitting there, doing my thing, feeling how my body feels, touching the points that hurt, pressing the points that hurt. At one stage you see me massaging my throat. And sometimes I find a place also in my throat. And when I press that, I have pain in my ear. I have pain in my forehead. So if you have a tight spot or an energy blockage somewhere in your body, and you find that by, tracing the lines of your body, these places are also called meridians. And these, if they are blocked, they block the flow of chakra, the flow of energy, the flow of life through your body. And when life stops, it starts to decay. And that means aging. Your body actually doesn't really age. The reason why we all age is because energy is blocked, and that means it starts to decay. And so I realized that by tracing the lines of my body and finding the spots that hurt and then pressing them with, that's what you call acupressure. You don't poke them. You gently apply pressure until it feels a little bit unsettling. And if you hold that, and you close your eyes and you feel into the pain, sometimes you can even see, you can feel, you can see in front of your inner eye, which to me is a feeling, which emotion is attached to that, what causes the blockage, what's stuck there. Earlier I was doing a stretching of my lower back, and something came up, and it was something about the relationship with my father. And this is a very scary place to be. I'm doing nothing else since 2 to 3 years. I'm doing nothing else but constantly working with energy, constantly feeling what I'm feeling so that I can make choices, right? To get back to the feeling how I felt maybe during, I don't know, during times where I felt really good. I want to get back to that. And so I make choices accordingly, because I'm not back there anymore. Now I'm right here. And so now things are different. And that means I have to make choices right now. And that means, I don't buy a yoga mattress to do yoga. Yeah, I don't buy a yoga pillow to sit on it. I use a towel. I use what I have available. I use the blanket, to lift my butt a little, to make it easier to sit in this kind of half-assed lotus posture. Or, just sitting there with cross-legged. That's how I mostly do it. Because the lotus posture to me at the moment, kind of impossible. But I'm working on it, right? To open up my hips and all that kind of stuff. But right now, I'm not trying. To me, it's more important that I find the time to sit down, connect with myself, and then feel where my body is aching, and then work on that. But I also don't do more than I have to, right? I do enough until I feel kind of satisfied. And so I don't work for hours on my throat, because you also have to realize, in your throat, it has a lot to do with inner truth, speaking the truth, and opening up to who you are. And it's also connected to hearing, as the beeping sound that just came up reminded me of. So, often if our throat chakra is blocked, we actually also, our ears are blocked. It spreads out into our ears. And that's why opening up the jaw, stretching the jaw, you can see me doing that as well. This is also a very important exercise. A lot of us are very angry and we constantly, it's like you're clenching your teeth. This is how we feel. And so I look where I have pain, and then sometimes I breathe into my stomach and I use the air in my stomach or in my lungs. I don't really know if it's in the lungs or, it feels like it's really in the stomach. And then I use that air to press out my chest and to stretch everything. And this is at times so intense. I have already fainted a couple of times during breath work and breath holds and stretching and stuff. So I'm a little bit careful with that. And especially if you do it right, it's better to either lie down or just make sure you're, better surrounded by pillows than really hard things. I've had moments where I did breath holds and it knocked me out, and when I came to myself again, I was lying with my head 2 centimeters away from the radiator. Yes, so I once did a breathing session on a chair. I sat cross-legged on a chair. And when I woke up, I was lying face down on the ground. I actually had a blue eye from that. I looked like I had been in a fight. So, these things could have gone awfully wrong. I was lucky, you could say, or maybe I was being protected or guided, because now I have something to teach you, right? I have something to tell you. And the methods that I'm using are all based on my intuition. So my method is connect to how you feel what you feel, and then act accordingly. Because what do I want, right? I want to progress. I want to let go. I want to move on. I want to give up control. I want to be less heavy, right? I want to need less things, right? I want to do what I came here to do, is spread joy in a way, but mostly to tell humanity, get your shit together. Self-responsibility, man. We have to take care of nature now. She is our mother. And we have to speak up for her. So we need to be strong to speak the truth and to stand up against all these liars and cowards and cheats and fakes. And that means we have to be the ones that show them the way, because anybody who's lying is a coward. They're afraid to tell the truth because they know they ain't living it. So, what is your word worth, right? When do you speak truth? When you represent what your words are phrasing. So when you say, I stopped watching porn, then you have to live that. When you don't live it, it won't work. Because then you're just more of the same. We want to be honest now. Right? I don't say I do yoga if I don't do yoga. And I don't buy a yoga mattress because I like the extra challenge. And I have no need to feed the industry. Why do I need a yoga mattress made of caoutchouc? Where's that coming from? Right? I just do yoga wherever I am. And that's the way yoga is supposed to be. Yoga is about the flow of energy, about yin and yang, right? And that means if you have a lot of darkness inside of you, it's time you start mixing a little light into that. so that the energy can really flow. And then you will realize that life does not happen only in bliss, but in a state of, kind of suffering. I feel like a bit melancholy at times. But because I have suffered a lot, I went through a lot of suffering, a lot of emotional hardship and suffering. And I pushed myself to the limits also, with what I did physically, mentally. That's a lot of suffering for you. I've done a lot of suffering. I feel very old. You may say I'm 34, but I feel very old. I have aged a lot in the past 3 years. And I have seen a lot of truth. And now it's time to accept what I've seen. And it's important to do that and to settle down and to also realize who you are in all of this, right? What did you came here to do? Well, obviously I came here to create a lot of content, right? I don't know what your purpose is, right? I came here to express my emotions through books, through music, but mostly I came here also to figure it out for myself. I have a distaste for getting knowledge out of books. I get knowledge or wisdom or whatever out of making experiences by simply doing it and then learning from that and then being open to whatever is trying, what life is trying to teach me. So if I keep failing and getting to my happy place because I spend too much time with other people, then the choice to me is very clear. I stay away from people. And in a way, I spend time alone until I feel good. And then I realize, okay, these are the things that I have to do to get to my happy place. We live in the times of the internet. I can share everything, right? I can be one of these women who basically do porn and they say they do yoga, but all they do is just, show their yonis. It's so cheap. It's such a cheap way to get likes. And they make money with frustrated men. And, I just wanted to create content that has a little bit more substance and quite a little bit of depth to it. So you won't be able to understand what I'm saying unless you really dive into this kind of stuff. So you either have to start by learning from what I'm saying, by reading one of my books, there are several out there, by listening to my music, by reading my articles on Medium, by listening to my podcast, by watching my videos, or by looking at my art and trying to understand what you feel when you look at this. So if fear is keeping you from engaging with my content, well, then you fail to get the message. Because the message is you have to face your fear. My first book is the Book of Fear. And it teaches you just a lot of the basic stuff. Because we live in fear. The whole society that we live in, this state is based on fear. So we're living in it. And that means that when you wake up to another way of life or to truth and you look around you and you think, what the fuck are we doing here? This is madness. We're hacking everything to bits. We live in greed. Greed is an expression of fear. So when you wake up to this truth, I can tell you from my own experience that you're probably going to be alone with it. You won't find a lot of people in your surroundings that are the same way as you. And that for you is the best thing that could have happened. because this gives you a lot of room to grow and learn to be completely independent and to focus on yourself. Because most people that I meet, they say they're spiritual and they read all these books, but they fail to implement this into their lives because they're lazy or weak or I don't know what, right? I'm done making excuses. You either do the work, which you may call sadhana, sadhana, or you do not do the work. And what I sometimes say to people, yeah, my feeling says stop saying that. If you don't like me, listen to Ram Dass or something. But he's dead, so I'm alive. I'm basically saying the same things, only in my own way. Man up. Don't wait for a guru to come. Maybe he's right in front of you. You're the best guru you can have. I don't have to teach you. You don't have to listen to me. Listen to yourself. Open up to what you are trying to tell yourself. Open up to your own feelings, and that's the best advice anyone can give to you.